Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Lilu Nishmas Imi Marosi Rus Bas Mordechai. First thing, I want to remind the Olam about the amazing Siyum, the upcoming Siyum, and all different Siyumim around the world. Go to mdysiyum.com to register to all of them. But I really encourage the Olam, since it's an ace. The borders are completely open. You don't need vaccinations. Just come in. And there are many, many people that already have flights reserved. We're accommodating people for Shabbos. If you want to stay by somebody's house, you can stay by somebody's house. If you want your own place. We have the option for meals. We have option for trips. Sudas together on Shabbos. Tefillas together. And then, of course, the big Siyum on Maseches Shabbos. So, come one, come all. Really, really, highly encourage it. There's a lot of, you get to meet all these people you hear from the emails, the Marana Kashas of the world, the Uncle Phils, who else? Leon Welcher from South Africa. Huh? The Kale, Woody Chu and the Kale twins are going to be there. I have no idea.
Woody's going to be there. We'll come.
Let's do the sponsors first. Let's see how much time we have left. We're running late on time here. The Paris Chodesh for the Koilel is Mr. Anonymous. Lilish Maschaya Bas Yosem Maseches Chagigah is dedicated by the Kessler and Davis families. Refuah shleima for Miriam Esther Bas Devora. Paris HaChodesh as a zechus for Rafael, Shlomo ben Lifsha and Rivka bas Gila, that they should have and be zoche to Zera Shel Kayama bekorov. Paris HaChodesh, Shauly Rosenfeld, in memory of my dear friend Yehuda Augenbaum. Jonathan Davydov, in memory of Bechor Davydov, ben penir, may his Neshama have an aliyah. Refuah shleima for Shlomo Hakohen ben Mindel. Sruly, sponsoring Lili Nishmas, my grandmother, Sarah Vidal Bas Avram Yitzchok. We have here, okay. Mrs. Wiseman says, my husband Yossi started learning through Yeshir when he started Megillah. It was all thanks to Shauly Trenk, who posted on his WhatsApp status about a free Gemara. Rabbi Isai, again, we're starting Yevamah soon. We're going to have, let me give you a little bit of a hint. Most of the characters and the cartoons are well-known members of the Shir, including a bunch of bald guys from the Shir who are going to be the brothers of Yevamis. We're very much looking forward. Even the women are very funny and very tznius, so it's going to be very exciting. My husband has not learned in years due to the fact that he's extremely busy taking care of our special needs son, Effie. Please have Effie in mind. This is chus for shleima, Ephraim Simcha ben Shepsi Rachel. The Kitzer, he's in hospital and rehab and night after night. But nevertheless, he's learning Torah. My husband is a different person thanks to Yeshir, and everyone who knows us and attends Yeshir knows what a special person Yossi is. Hashem should give him the koyach to continue giving the shir and bringing light into so many homes. Thank you again for everything you always fill in your home with Torah. S. Wiseman. Letter from 5th grade Rebbe in Torah Vadas. Listen to this, Rabbi Isai. Just want to share with you. I propose a challenge to the boys in the class. This is 5th grade. Next time we could have a chance to make a siyum on a small Maseches in Daf Yomi will be in September 2025. So I challenge them and offer them a night out, a nice supper. You should all be so proud that there are 8 boys that are still doing the daf in Maseches Chagigah. You never know what the boys are really capable of doing. Just a little push sometimes. You need a curveball and they jump to it. Thank you, parents, for helping, and they continue with snachas. Have a great Shabbos. I don't know. It just says a letter from a 5th grade Rebbe in Torah Vadas. That's another 2. Okay. Should we jump into it? It's a good idea. No, since you said it's a good idea, I want to read just this one from Noam Goodman. I joined the Daf from Maseches Chagigah, really enjoying the consistent learning. I entered law school after years of yeshiva 30 years ago and have not been able to learn daily until now. professional chazan. Oh, what he's saying is, we had a machlokes here. Is it b'nei ve'ischakim? No, how's it go? Chag hamatzos or chag hamatzos. I don't know, whatever it was. He says it goes either way. It's based on the Maril against the Torah. I'm also right. They're right. They're okay. Fine. No, I'm good in Toronto. Shkoyach. By the way, I got a number of emails yesterday because I did the thing with Alexa, and I told Yosef to take out that word. So people want, what was that word? It didn't sound good. It didn't look good. It was not a dirty word. It was just not appropriate for the shir. The beginning of that word is freak, okay, if that's what you want to know. But it's not, people thought of something else and they make a whole command of right. Well, it wasn't. It wasn't a dirty word. But okay. It was extremely funny at the time. Oh, did I read this one? No, we have to read this. Dear Chaim Aaron Katz learns Daf Yomi every day with MDY. He learns on his own following this year. Since he's not in any framework, he considers you his Rosh Hashiva. He follows your movements, tells everyone what is happening in MDY. He's looking forward to the Siyum next week and would love to join the one in London. Here he is, Chaim Aaron Katz. Gewaldig. Okay, so let's do a quick chazara on what we learned yesterday because we flew through Amud Beis. Today, by the way, is also a very easy daf, but new musagim and tum and tahira, but very, very geshmakish stuff. We got waves, we got apples falling into the mikveh by mistake, all sorts of great stuff. We have like this. Our Mishnah said, this is just bekitzer, so if you don't understand what it says there, it's normal. The Mishnah says that you're required to wash your hands anytime you eat chulin, which is just regular fruit, and the Meiser Sheni fruit. Meiser Sheni fruit is part of Trumas and Meisrus. If you have fruit, you give 2% to the Kayan, 10% to the Levi, and 10% in green to yourself. You have to eat it in Yerushalayim, etc. So that fruit has a certain kedusha to it. It's a little bit, we'll see, a little bit more than chulin. Same as chulin machlokes. At the end of the day, it's a little bit more than chulin. You have to wash your hands, says our Mishnah. But the problem is that the Mishnah in Bikurim says you do not have to wash your hands for chulin and ma'aser sheni. Then we bring a brisa that says that according to Chachamim, you have to wash your hands for ma'aser sheni. So that solves the ma'aser sheni problem. Our Mishnah goes according to Chachamim that in ma'aser sheni you have to wash your hands. They'll go like this, the Chachamim. But what do we do with chulin? We still don't have a Manda Omer that says that you have to wash your hands for chulin. So the Mishnah, the Gemara says, well, our Mishnah is talking about eating. And when you eat, you have to wash your hands, maybe. The Gemara says, but everybody agrees that even eating, there's no machlokes between Chacham and Meir and eating. And that's where we got to yesterday, that our Mishnah is talking about eating bread. Eating bread, since we're trying to train people, the Kohanim, that they should wash their hands in time of Beis HaMikdash. Everybody, even the Israelim, have to wash their hands when eating bread. Bread is the sign of a Suda. That's how we eat. So our Mishnah is talking about eating bread. Shalom Yisrael, that's the end of the sukkah. Now we're holding Torah Rabban. 5 lines from the bottom, Daf Yud Ches, Amud Beis.
Said you wouldn't go back. You said.
Torah Rabban. Hanoitel Yodov. If you wash your hands, this kaven, you have kavana that they should become tahar, Yodov tahiras. Your hands are tahar. Loinis kaven. You just wash your hands. Let's say you shook somebody's hand in shul and you're concerned about COVID. You come home, you start washing your hands. You don't have kavana for tahara. Yadav tmeyos. You don't get a tahara from that. V'chein hamat bil yadav. The same thing if you dunk your hands in a mikvah, neskaven. If you have kavana yadav taharas, then neskaven yadav tmeyos. Ask the Gemara. But Tanya bein neskaven bein neskaven yadav taharas. You don't have to have kavana when you tovel your hands. Omer of Nachman loy kashya. Kan lechulin, kan lemeiser. When it's meiser, meiser is. If we go back, let's see if I can find it here. That chart that I had yesterday. The chulin, the meiser here. This is how the Mishnah brings these 5 things. So chulin is the least kadosh, and the most it could have is a sheni. In other words, if an apple of chulin touches something else, it doesn't transmit tum at all. it itself is not more than a sheni. It cannot be more than a sheni. But Ma'aser Sheni, says the Gemara, is stronger than chulin, and therefore Ma'aser Sheni, you would require washing your hands, and chulin not. Okay. Stam as a vart. Once we're here, chulin when you're ein mayim el Torah. So when you're learning Torah as a beginner, the chulin, you don't need kavana. Come in, maybe you don't understand everything, maybe you're not mechavan 100%, maybe it's for different reasons. You don't need kavana. Umin al timra, the chulin leiboy kavana. Oh, here we're going to go into a beautiful sugya. How do you know that when it comes to chulin, you don't need that? When it comes to chulin, you don't need kavana. Regular food, you washed your hands by mistake. You had kavana to wash your hands for germs. You put it on the sink, you went like this, you did whatever you need to do, you put it into a mikvah, you yaitza. You could eat chul no problem without having kavan and snan. How do I know? Gal shenitlash boy arbaim sa. Gevaldik. Approximately 4 years ago, when we were still in the other building, we were sitting and we had a small chabura, maybe 10 guys, and a fellow showed up from Los Angeles, David. And he called himself David Agal because he's a surfer. And he said that he was on a surfing trip. I forgot where, maybe like Costa Rica or something, or not Curacao, one of those. No, that's where he lives. But anyways, some far out place, and he wanted some Torah in his life. So he went on the internet and he found the shir. Then we had 30 guys on YouTube. And he came to say Shalom Aleichem, he's here. And ever since then, that's almost 4 years ago, he hasn't missed a day. Mamish hasn't missed. He's in constant contact with us. He sends us ha'aras in the shir, etc., etc. Call him David Agal, David the Wave. So here's David Agal. He's standing here. It's all about waves by him. It's shalchmana, his messages, waves. He has a surfboard here in Israel, so he's going to kill me. Actually, nobody knows where. California's a pretty large place. Anyways, he said, I didn't say, you just said it loud. He doesn't, they don't pick up anything. They don't hear from him. They only hear you. Say it again. 3,000. Yeah, what do we say? Where?
Malibu.
California. Okay, great. Anyways, this guy's David, not Hagal, somebody else. He has tchelas, the whole deal. And a wave shoots out of the water. He's on the sand. He's on the ground. Now this wave is detached. You see, it's detached from the ocean. And the wave contains 40 sa, the amount of water that's required for a mikvah. The halacha is, if you have a mikvah, you need ashbayrin. You need water that's not moving. Can't be zoichlin, can't be moving water. Ocean is different. Ocean is like a mayon. You can have moving water, not a problem. And the fact is that you have 40 sa, and it came from the force of the ocean. So even though it's moving, it's perfectly fine. Guy standing, minding his own business, and a wave hits him in the head. Gal shenitlash uboy arbaim sa. Nitlash, it's detached from the ocean. V'nafal ala adam ala kelim tahirim. So l'chayr, it seems that he had no intent, had no idea what was going on. This thing hit him, mitarim on the spot. It hits the kli. The kli certainly didn't have intent. Tahar. So what do you see? Tani adam dumi the kelim. They're both in the same sentence. A human being, a pot, both tar. Ma kelim d'loy mechavni, af adam d'loy mechaven. So just like obviously this kli right over here doesn't have das, intent, not intent, wanted the wave to hit him. He has no idea. He's just standing there minding his own business with the chant, whatever. Comes this wave and hits the person, also has no intent, and he's tar. So you see, you don't have to have kavanah when it comes at least to chulin. Says the Gemara, who told you? Umimai, what's the raya? Dilma b'yoshev mitzapa imasa yitol GALA Siyum. Maybe he's sitting and waiting for the wave to hit him, for a large enough 40 saw wave to hit him. V'kelim dumi da'adam. MMA, just like he has intent, so to the kli has intent. How does the kli have intent? V'kelim ma'adam the bar kavana. Avkelim v'chaven lo. He, the owner of the kli, is having kavana that the wave is going to come and hit it. What's wrong with that? Who told you that this case of the wave that's nitlash is a case of no kavana? Maybe it's a case of kavana. And therefore, I don't have a right. Well, if he has kavana, so what's the big deal? What's the chiddush? Ligzar Dilma Asi Limitbal Bechor Shel Kshamim. Chardal Shel Kshamim is 40 saw of rainwater that comes down a mountain. Let's see if I have a picture. I was in the middle of making one. I don't know if I printed it. Yeah, here. Chardal Shel Kshamim. It's raining. This is not a river. This is just water coming down a mountain. 40 saw of water. That is not good for a mikveh. Why? Because it's zoche, it's moving. It's not an ocean, it's not a mayon, it's rainwater. Rainwater has to be stationary, it has to be in a mikveh without movement. You know, if a mikveh has like a crack or something and the water's moving, it's no good. It's zoche, it becomes zoche. You can't have moving mikveh. Mikveh, not that it can't go like this, but the water can't go out, it can't go in. It has to be stationary. It's a mikveh. That's the word mikveh means it's gathered. So this is no good for a mikveh. So if somebody stood right over here on the bottom and got a 40 saw rainfall of water on his head, he's not tar. But it's similar to this case. Here's a guy standing and he got 40 saw of water. What's the difference? So people are going to get confused. So maybe I'll think that in the case of the gal, that's the big chiddush. The case is you are tar from a wave, even though you're not tar from rain. Inami nigzer Russian otu keepin. Oh, so what's going on here? This is the Rosh. This is the head of the wave. The head of the wave is kosher for tefillah, but this part right over here, the yarmulke, the kippah, the center is not kosher. If you take a pot and toss it up into the ear and it hits this area right over here, no good. This is okay because you're on the ground, so it says if it's mechuber to the karkan, great. But a flying, not object, a flying body of water, a flying body of water is not a good mikveh. It's not a kosher mikveh, even if it has arba'im sa. It's mid-ear. Mid-ear is no good. This is keeping, no good. This is rosh, good. So I would think that rosh is also not good. Gzera, because you might say that this is good, the kippah. Kamash Malon, that's another chiddush. Kamash Malon Gizrinam. Bottom line is, I don't have a raya from this case, because this case could be a case of kavana. You're asking me what's the big chiddush? I just gave you two great chiddushim. Don't get confused with rainwater. Don't get confused with the mid-ear part. It's kosher. And who told you that you cannot be toivel kalim or yourself? Let's say you jump up 10 feet into the wave in midair. You're not yoid, so you're not tar. This anya matbilim beroshin ve'ein matbilim bekibin lefi she'ein matbilim ba'aver. It says before in a brayso you cannot be toivel in midair. Oh, so I'll give you another raya that you don't have to have kavana for chulin when you're toivel. If you wash your hands by mistake, or somebody forced you to, your mother washed your hands for you, you didn't want to, you're yoitza, you're tar. You have an apple that falls into a mikveh, right? You go like your toivel kalim, and sometimes it falls out of your hand, it goes to the bottom. So you go grab it. The guy forgot that his hands are tamei. He had no intent to be toivel his hands. His intent was to grab the apple. Yadav Tairos. His hand becomes tar. Upeiros einon bichiyutan. So once we're here, we can demonstrate. Here we go. It's not a. Here, Mendy, hold this, please. Here's an apple. This apple is tahar. Here's a dead mouse. Sheretz. Touches the apple. What happens to the apple? Nothing. It's tar. The only way this apple can become tamei is here. Hold it high over here. And I want to put the water on the apple. Oh, now it's now it had water on it. Now that I touch the apple with the sheretz, the apple becomes tamei. What if the apple's outside and it rained on the apple, or some other guy, whatever, somebody poured water, one of the mashkim, it's not dafka water, one of the mashkim? Nothing. I have to have intent. Says the Gemara. My hands become tahar by reaching for the apple because I don't have to have kavanah. Over here you see, you don't have to have kavanah. I had no intent to make my hands tahar. I wanted just to grab the apple. But by doing so, I put my hands in a mikvah, they become tahar without intent. You see here the idea, your hands become tahar without intent for chulin. Upeiros. But the apple, einam b'chiyutan. It doesn't count that it's so full of water and it sat in the bottom of the mikveh for 25 minutes. That's not water that I intended to put on the apple. That's water that slipped out of my hand and went into the mikveh. Listen to this chiddush. Bim b'shvil sheyutchu yadav. Yadav tahayros. What if I have an apple on the bottom of the mikveh and I say to myself, listen, I want to go into the mikveh and grab the apple so I can make my hands tahar. 2 for 1. Let me at least, I need to make my hands tahar, so I'm going to go. Once my hands are in there, I'll grab whatever on the bottom. So, obviously, Yadav Tahiris, you don't even have to have kavanah. Your hands are tahar. But over here, big chidush, va'peiros hareim b'chiyutan, the fruit become as if I wanted the water. Since I want the water for my hands, so that water becomes water that I want, and it goes on the pri as well. Eisvei Rabbi Rav Nachman, hatoiva l'chulin, v'huchzak l'chulin. So we have a kasha. I explained it a little bit like the Achronim explained in Rashi. That if I want the water for something else, then the water becomes water that I want, even for the pri, even I didn't have intended that it should go in the pri, I wanted that water for something else. Okay. It's hard to understand Rashi as is. Why did I want the water on the fruit? Who said? I wanted the water on my hand. That's our Mishnah. Person has intent to go into the mikvah only so he should be able to eat chulin. So now his body is good for chulin. Also the meiser. Meiser is the next level up. He cannot eat meiser now. Why? Because his kavana is for something else. Says the Gemara, huchzak in, loy huchzak loy. It says mefurish, hatoiva l'chulin v'huchzak l'chulin. It says mefurish that he had kavana for chulin. Isn't that a problem with what we're saying now? We're saying you don't have to have kavana for chulin. Even if you fall into mikveh by mistake, you become tahar. Why does the Mishnah say that he had kavana for chulin? Says Gemara Achikamar. Outside, of course you don't need to have kavana. The chiddush is, even if I did have kavana, it doesn't work only to a point. My kavana for chulin, I don't have kavana at all. If I'm sleeping and I fall off my bed into a mikveh, I'm tahar. I don't have to have kavana. But the chiddush is, even if I went into the mikveh and I said l'shem mikveh tahara for chulin, because I said chulin, it stops at chulin and doesn't go any further. I'm not tahar for meiser sheni. That's a huge chiddush. Okay. Eisvei. Again in the Mishnah. What if he was toivel and he had zero kavana? It's as if he wasn't toivel at all. Oh, this is a big kasha. It says, you hear, Judah? It says, if he was toivel and he had zero kavana, it doesn't work. Even for chulin. So you see, you have to have kavana for chulin. My love, kilo tova klau. It says even tefillah doesn't work for chulin. Loi kilo tova lemaiser. Aval tova lechulin. And it does work for chulin. It doesn't work for meiser. It's interesting. Taisa says a big chiddush here that it's possible that if a person had zero kavana, it would work for meiser. It's just because they had kavana just for chulin that it prevents him from being tar for meiser. Zero kavana might be better, I would think, might be better than a small kavana of only chulin. Because it's a general kavana. I'm going into the mikvah. Well, zero kavana. So it'll work even for meiser. But if I'm chaven dafka for a lower level of chulin, then it doesn't work. Huh? Yeah, no. So the havamin. I could have such a havamin. So the Gemara Usavar, Rav Nachman thought. Rabbi thought that Rav Nachman komatchile. That he's being a doichek here. Nafak dog va'ashkach. Rabbi himself went out, started looking, searching it. Went on, Barilan, whatever. He started looking into what's going on here. The Sanya, and he looked and he found Mamish Mefurish Braisa. Tava v'loy huchzak asur lemeiser umutter lechulin. It wasn't a doichak. It's Mefurish Braisa that if a person is toivel and he has no intent at all, it works for chulin. Mamish our sugya. That for chulin you don't have to have intent. For everything else, you have to have for Meiser Sheni, for Truma, of course, and Kachim, Vada, and Chatas, certainly, sir. Or Rebbe Lazar. It's Chiddush after Chiddush here. We're learning Gevaldik Sugyas. Not hard stuff. It's hard? No. Omer Rebbe Lazar. Taval Va'ala. A guy goes into the mikvah thinking to himself, I'm going to the mikvah for what? For Tahara. He knows what he's doing. He's going in for Tahara. Like we go to the mikvah today. We go to the mikvah. Do we have any intent of what we're going for? No. We have a general intent. We're going in to be mitar of the body. Not chulin, not what?
Get the news.
To get the news in the mikvah. To get the news. But not for chulin, not for Meiser Sheni. You're not thinking anything. So listen to this unbelievable chiddush. He comes out of the mikvah. Well, Taisa says in big parentheses, well, he's still wet. He still has mikvah water on him. So now he can decide why he went to the mikvah. Not 16 hours later. A minute later, he's dripping wet. He can still say, well, I went to the mikvah for Meiser Sheni, not for Truma. Oh no, I went for Truma, not for Kachim. I went for Kachim, not for Chatos. He can decide what he wants to do. And if he says, he's a shaitan, he says, I only went for Chulin, he's stuck at Chulin level. He cannot eat Meiser Sheni. By the way, very interesting. When is a person tahar when he goes to the mikvah? When he goes into the mikvah or when he comes out of the mikvah? Comes out of the mikvah? When he's in the mikvah, he's not tahar yet? He's in the water, says Gary. Anybody else? Shalom Aleichem, guys in the back. How you guys doing? Not you, Hillel. You're here for 4 years. Hi, you wasted me. Hi. Oh, well, it's been a few days, Takel. Okay. If you're toivel with the sheretz, you're not tar. No, toivel with sheretz b'yada, you're not tar. You're really not. Okay, but anyways, the Kessler Mishnah holds. Not everybody holds like the Kessler Mishnah holds. Like these guys said, when you come out of the mikvah. So I have a big a shaila, a riddle. A guy's in the mikvah. There's exactly 40 size toivel. Comes a guy, takes a pail worth of water out of the mikvah, and now he's at 39.5 saw. Is the guy tar? Because he didn't come out of the mikvah. Is he tar? Why?
That means it's coming out of the mikvah.
Oh, you hear what he said? When you take the pail of water out of the mikvah, that's coming out of the mikvah. The mikvah came out of him. So that's coming out of the mikvah. Okay, just ha'ara. Why not? Says the Gemara again. He could be toivel. He could decide what he wants. Meisvei. A guy is a flamingo. He has one leg in the mikvah, one out. Okay, on the steps. One is on, one is out. You can. David is going to get on the table now and show us. Since he's still 1 foot in the mikvah, he can decide what he wants to be tar for. So let's say he went in. He went in for chulin. He could decide, I want to be tar even for truma. Allah, once all his feet are out, shuv any machzik. My love, any machzik klal. Oh, so it seems like not even for chulin. You have to have kavanah even for chulin. Loi. Oideyu afapi shuchzak machzik. If he is one leg in the mikvah and he already established what he is, he went in thinking I'm going in for chulin, but his leg is still in the mikvah. Now he can still change. Switch your mind. Now I want to go up in my drink. I want to go to Truma. I want to go to Kachim. But vim huchzak imloy huchzak. Sorry. Oideyu afapi shuchzak machzik. Allah. But once he got out of the mikvah, imloy. So what's the kasha? The kasha is on Rebbe Lazar, who says that once you leave the mikvah, you can decide what you want. But over here, it seems like you can't decide what you want. So the Gemara says you're right. If you decided already what you want, and your 1 foot is in the mikvah, then you could redo it. Allah. But once you come out of the mikvah, imloy huchzak machzik vim huchzak einoi machzik. Rebbe Lazar is right. If he's a blank slate and he comes out of the mikvah and he's still wet according to Tosfos, he can decide what he wants. But if he is not a blank slate, he went into the mikvah with thinking I'm going in for chulin, and he came out of the mikvah and he's still wet, he cannot switch his mind. You hear? Rebbe Lazar doesn't give you a free for all. Once you're out of the mikvah, you can do whatever you want as long as you're wet. If I went in as chulin and I came out and I'm dripping wet, I can't change because I decided what I want to be. It's only if I forgot to decide what I want to be and I'm wet, I'm standing by the mikvah, I could decide I want to be whatever I want. Who is the Tana that says that when one leg is in the water, you can decide what you are? Omer Rebbe Pedas, Rebbe Yehudahi. Let's remember, Rebbe Pedas says it's a machlokes, and it goes only according to Rebbe Yehuda. This is not. A person goes into mikvah, which is exactly 40 saw. You know that each person that comes out of the mikvah is going to take water with him. So the second guy doesn't have 40 saw yet, right? The second guy that goes into the mikvah is going to be a little bit less than 40 saw. What's that halacha? Harishon tahar, v'sheni tameh. The second guy going in doesn't have 40 saw. Or Rabbi Yehuda, not true. Here, says Rabbi Das, it goes according to this shita only. According to Rabbi Yehuda, if his legs are in the water, avasheni tar. What's pshat? How could that be? You don't have 40 saw in the mikvah. How could Rabbi Yehuda hold that it's okay? We learned in Eruvin a concept called good achas mechista. You take this edge in Sukkah, in the Eruvin, and it's halacha l'Moshe Sinai. It's not a made-up halacha. Because Baruch Hu told Moshe Rabbeinu at Har Sinai, you can do such a thing. You vision this wall going down completely. Rabbi Yehuda says, I envision all the water on the guy's head as if it went down into the mikvah. We're going to see soon, the Chazon Ish says it's a borrowed lashon. It doesn't literally mean, the water went down. It means since it's going to come down, water always travels downwards, so it's as if it's in the mikvah. It's not a halach of good achas mechitzta. Okay.
The first person's hair that came off the head.
Yeah, you with the baldness. Okay, we'll get to you in Yavamas. Don't worry about it. The whole machlok between Rabbi Yehuda and Chachamim is only in a chumrah of Rabbanan. Like the guy Za'aynen, says Rashi. You know, a person who loses a loved one, in order for him to eat kachim, he has to go to the mikvah. He didn't do anything. He didn't go to the levaya, nothing. You have to go to the mikvah. But that's only a chumrah of Rabbanan. But a doiraisa, hasheni tame. This trick of pretending that the water drips off the body into the mikvah only works in the Rabbanan. V'anu the Rebbe Das. That's what Rebbe Das is saying, that in the Rabbanan, it goes according to Rabbi Yehuda, not according to Rabbanan. The whole machlokes in the Doraisa, the Rabbanan, the Reakol. Everybody agrees that the water that's on the first guy drips back into the mikvah and it's good for the second guy. Uplegi the Rebbe Das. Then Rebbe Das is wrong. Because Rebbe Das said it only goes according to Rabbi Yehuda. We're saying that goes according to everybody. Okay, Amarullah. No halacha. Givaldik. According to Rabbi Yehuda, that I go downwards, I say good achis mechitzta. Remember, achis means downwards. Do I say the concept of good asik mechitzta? What's good asik? Going upwards. So this is from Eruvin, from the Kol Halashon book, an amazing book. We had over 700 pictures for Eruvin. It was a givaldik masechta. Here you have a wall that separates two homes. And the concept is, good asik mechitzta, halacha Moshe Messina says, we pretend that this wall goes upwards and separates the roof. Okay? It's an invisible wall. You see how they did invisible? Beautiful how they did it. Good asik. Do I go upwards? Question is, do I say good asik here as well? Now what? Listen to this unbelievable question. I couldn't help it. When I was a kid, I don't know about you guys, I lived in Far Rockaway. We lived in certain neighborhoods. And the minhag then was, I'm not joking, people had massive afros. Massive. And it was cool to have one of these stuck in your hair. I'm not joking. Everybody was walking around with a comb. It's called a pick. And this is how they walk around. Now, this is what the Gemara, what?
Yeah, everybody.
All of us.
Yeah. It's coming back now, Shtickle.
Why do you know it?
What? I could. Give me a fork. You'll see. I have steel wool over here. So this is the shayla. I mean, the tziner that we're talking about is a very small fork. It's this, but very small. Much smaller, but it's the same idea. What if a person sticks a fork in his hair and he's standing on a step of a mikveh? Do I say that the water of the mikveh travels upwards? Hey, you just used halacha l'moshe Messina to say the water goes downwards, so say the water goes upwards. It's the same halacha l'moshe Messina basically. But according to the Chazon Ish, this question makes beautiful sense. Because if, in fact, there was a halacha l'moshe Messina, there is no difference between up and down in halacha l'moshe Messina. If you go down, you go up. But the Chazon Ish says it's not literally halacha l'moshe Messina goes down. I'm telling you that eventually, since the water is going to go downwards, drip into the mikveh, it's as if it's in the mikveh. Well, that only applies, the logic only applies with gravity downwards. It doesn't go upwards. That's the Gemara's question. That's why the Gemara had a question. Does it work or not work? We got to go. We only have 4 minutes from the base. Okay. We'll talk afterwards. Says Gemara. Do I say good asik? Is really good asik or less like? Do I say good upwards or not? Or dilma good asik nami is like? Perhaps he says both. Good achis is Yehuda, good asik Leslie. He doesn't hold of it. Or dilma good asik nami is like. I have a mefurusha brisa for this. Here, check this out. Beautiful picture. 3 water holes. One. This guy has 20 sa in it, not a good mikvah. This guy is perfect mikvah, 40 sa. This lower one is also 20 sa. Can I be toivel in this one? And this one is the question. What's the question? Because they're connected with sort of a fall, like a little river going from one to the other. Says the Gemara, Hel yoina atachtoina v'emtzais. Hel yoina atachtoina shel esrim. The upper and bottom ones are 20. V'emtzais shel arba'im 40. V'chardel shel kshomer v'erz minhem. You have rainwater flowing between them. Rabbi Yehuda Omer. Meir hayomer, unbelievable lashon. Meir, my friend, not Rebbe Meir. Meir, that's how we called him. Matbil bel yoina. I could be toivel in the upper one. Why? Because it's connected to the middle guy. What about the bottom one? 1,000%. Even kolchkin. I could even go upwards. What do you see? A good asik mechitzta. I could go upwards. Vastanya, but I'm asking you. So, and what does that have to do with Rabbi Yehuda? Because Rabbi Yehuda is saying, Meir, my friend said, and he doesn't argue. So obviously Rabbi Yehuda holds, it's also good. He's just bringing his friend. Vatanya, but that's not true. I know for a fact Rabbi Yehuda argues on Meir. Vatanya Rabbi Yehuda Oimer, Meir hoya Oimer, matba bel yoina, va'ani Oimer, b'tachtoin v'lo bel yoina. I argue on Rabbi Meir. Tanya, if you have a mefurish brisa like that, I can't argue with you. There's nothing to do about that. You're right. Rabbi Yehuda says, you don't say good asik. And Rameir says, you do say good asik. But good achis, they hold it's okay. Sponsored in honor by Moshe Horn, in honor of Chewy, Woody, and the Kale twins. Sponsored by Moshe. I say they should come to the Siyum, because if they don't come to the Siyum, we're going to think they're fake. They don't exist. They should all come to the Siyum. Well, tickets are nothing now. I mean, now they might get expensive because we're buying them out. You can get in there, it's going to be unbelievable. Sponsored by Moshe Ginsburski in honor of Brian and Talia Edgar. Says the Gemara, if a person goes into the mikvah thinking that he's going for chulin, he's only good to eat chulin, he cannot eat meiser sheni. Says the Gemara, Mani masnisin rabbanani. Our Mishnah goes according to Rabbanan. The shani lahu bein chulin le meiser. Where is that? Somewhere around there. we had, here we go. You see that even though in the Mishnah, we said in the Mishnah, Chulin, the most it could be is a Sheni, Meiser Sheni, the most it could be is a Sheni. But you see in the Mishnah, it goes in order. You see that if somebody is tar for Chulin, he's not tar for Meiser Sheni. What does that tell me? That Chulin and Meiser Sheni are different. And Memela, if I go into the mikvah for one, I'm not good for the other. I mean, if I go for Chulin, I'm not good for Meiser Sheni. If I go in for Meiser Sheni, I am good for Chulin. Because Chulin is less than Meiser Sheni. Ema Seifa. So that's the ratio. What about the Seifa? Big Diam Haaretz, Midras Leprushim. We're talking about Begodim again. Medras is Tumas Medras if a Zav, or Nida sit, touch clothing, they become Tameh, become like Ava Tameh Midras. A person who's a parish, what's a parish? He eats his Chulin b'tahara. He's very makbid on his Chulin that they shouldn't have any kind of Tumah. So it says that if you touch clothing of an Amaret, since he has no clue and his wife has no clue, so maybe she sat on it, maybe he uses up, he sat on it. So the parush, this guy is makbid on Taras HaChulin, Al Taras HaKodesh, for Chulin, he cannot eat anymore. He's Tameh. Big day Prushin, and a beged of a guy that's very makbid. Oh, you see, he's a machmer guy. He's only machmer for what he does. Midras La'oichle Truma, it's considered mamish Tuma for somebody like a Kayan who eats Truma, which is a higher level. Now, a son or a mayor, look what's going on here. Look what it says here. In the Mishnah it says, if you have clothing and you're makbid al taras hakodesh, it's no good for Truma. And if you're Truma, no mention of Meiser Sheni. No, look in the Mishnah, you'll see. Skipped it. What does that tell me? That Meiser Sheni and Chulin are equal. The reason why it's skipped is because there's no need to talk about it. It's in the same category as Chulin. Well, that's different than what we just said a second ago. We said the ratio of the Mishnah says that one is under the other. It goes Chulin, then Meiser Sheni, then Truma. And now you're telling me that Chulin and Meiser Sheni are on the same level? That's impossible to say that the ratio goes one way and the Sefer goes another way. So sometimes when it's impossible, we have no other choice and we say, okay, we're stuck. So as the Gemara, Reish Rabbanim Sefer and Meir. In Reish Rabbanim Sefer and Meir. Okay, we have no choice. However, Ravacha ber Adam Masela beSeifa Chamesh Mailois Umukila Kula Kurabanan. All he does is, I don't know if I made one. Basically, he just inserts it right over here. He does have 5. It's not 4. It's 5 levels. You look at the Mishnah, he has a different Mishnah, different Girsa. Chulin, Meiser Sheni, Truba, Kodesh, Chatas. It's called Taras HaKodesh, Prushim. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He has 5, and Memela, everything works out well. Should we go a few lines more? It's kind of late now. I really want to go to the next sugya. What? Yeah? Let's go. Okay. Omer of Mori, Shmami no Chulin shenasu al Taras HaKodesh ki Kodesh damu. If a person is so careful about the way he treats his Chulin, he's very, very careful. He wants to impress his family. He wants to impress upon them that they should treat kachim with respect. He doesn't know when they're going to bump into kachim. So all food that comes into his house, he says, you know what, this is like the highest level, kachim. How do I treat that food? That food is not kachim. He didn't get it off an animal. He didn't get it off the mizbeach. He bought it in the makolet. It's a regular apple. Where is it? Here. This. Does this have any kedusha? 0. In my mind, this is kaddish like a carbon. Shkoyach. What is it? How kaddish is it now? What could I, in my mind, when I decide something is kaddish, to what level of kedusha is it? In other words, if I take this later, is it a shlishi? Is it a revi? It can only usually go up to a sheni. But in my mind, could it go to a shlishi? Could it go to a revi? So, says the Gemara, from our Mishnah, you see, yes, I treat it mamish like kachim. Even a shlishi is metamet. Yeah? If a shlishi, a third level, very, very low level of kedusha, touches my chulin apple, will become tameh. We're usually not. Why? Because in my mind, it's kachim. How do I know it? Middeloi katanilu behu ma'ila. Look, there should have been right over here, before kodesh, in the Mishnah, chulin, truma, kodesh, chatas. There should have been another category called Altaris HaKodesh. Category number 3. If a person decides that this chulin apple is kadosh, it has a kedusha more than truma, less than kodesh. But since it doesn't say it, obviously it's equal to kodesh.
That's not the
Hold on a second. Time out. I took this apple. I said this apple, it's 100% regular chulin. Everybody can eat it. Everything Yisrael can eat it. In my mind, this apple is kachim. I'll prove to you that this apple is kachim. Why? Because if it's not kachim, what is it? It must be one level less than kachim. Well, then how come it's not in the Mishnah? It should say, Al Taras HaKodesh. If somebody's makbid on apples of chulin, then it's not kodesh. But there should be a category for this in the Mishnah. Why is there no category? You know why there's no category? Because it's equal and identical to kodesh itself. I decided this chulin should be kodesh. It is kodesh. That's why it's not in the Mishnah. It's not in light blue because I don't need it. What's the Gemara going to ask? Who told you? Maybe this apple is like truma, and that's why it's not in the Mishnah. That's it. Says the Gemara. Davi's question. It's in the category of truma. Maybe it's so low that's chulin. This nan. The Sanya, chulin shenas al taras hakodesh, harein kechulin. Here, I have a mefurish man Amar that says that if I decide that this chulin apple is kodesh kadashim, it's nothing. It's like chulin. That's why it's not a category in the Mishnah. And now, okay, there's another man that says harein ketruma. It's the second level, but certainly, who told you that this has kedusha like kedusha? And I'll prove it to you from the Mishnah that it is kodesh like kachim. How? Elam Seifa. What does it say in the Seifa? We don't have to know the first part, but the second part. Yosef ben Yezer is a chassid b'shkuna. Yosef ben Yezer was a chassid, he was a kohen. And his handkerchief was tamei. Since he was only makbid on truma, so his handkerchief had tuma legabi kodesh. Now this one. Yochanan ben Gudgada, this is yesterday's Mishnah. Kol yamav. He ate everything, apples that are chulin, he ate them like they're kachim. His handkerchief was for the next level, meaning that it had kedusha of kachim. It's chulin, but it had kedusha of kachim, and that's our raya that if a person has intent to make a simple apple, which is chulin, kachim, it is kachim. Do we have to repeat this tomorrow? Okay. We don't have to, says Medley. Sorry.